Morning, good morning. We just missed an unloading. They were unloading stuff next. Oh, microphone. Mic. Jacket. It'd be chilly in here this morning. I was thinking we were going to have a quiet time there next door, but the truck came up about 15 minutes ago and they're starting unloading stuff, so they're still at it. It could be another day of jackhammering, we'll see. No idea. Play it as it comes. Good morning. Is the paper out? The paper is out. Thank you very much. 2 packs for Ishikawa-san. She hasn't arrived yet. She'll be coming here about 9 o'clock, she said. So we may see her when she comes in the door this morning. No school today, somebody says. So, good morning. Okay, we know what we're up to today. I know, carving on the key block of this. There will be a show and tell at the end. And the show and tell today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to recap a couple of things we looked at last week. And we're going to correct some, what's the word here? Not correct. We're going to, we're going to correct some misconceptions. Do I get email? And this last week, I got a bunch of email about show and tell. Not so much from people who were in the stream here live, but people who saw it later said, "Oh my God, what an idiot!" It's okay. It's okay. Okay, we want to be right about there. Let's get this thing zoomed in. Looks good to go. It is rainy and chilly today here. It is cold. It's not maybe so much cold on the thermometer, but with the rain and the chilliness, it is chilly. Okay, let's do a bit of this here. The block here is from the same tree, the same plank as the block I carved for the first one in next year's series, that we just finished. This is the same tree, at least according to the code numbers written on the end of it. Aoyama-san says he got it from the same piece of wood, but it seems a little bit softer, but I'm not sure. Questioning's already. A little reframing, whatever. Is it not where I am here? I don't know how much closer I can get, you know. We zoom in a bit too much and it defocuses. We had an unusual day here yesterday. You know, there was 3 people working upstairs in the printing room, which is really, really unusual. For most of the past year, most of them have been working at home, and even the ones that come here have been alternating days. But the reason we had to have a bunch here yesterday is sort of a semi-conference. We're working on the colors and stuff for next year's print, and all the different color variations we've done in testing. So we needed our little conference together to sort out what to do and make some decisions. So there were three printers upstairs yesterday, plus me. And then at the same time as that, Aoyama-san was here in the second floor working in his office, and Yamada-kun came to do work on the collection. So 6 of us in the building, and that's got to be the first time since like last March or so. Of course, we're all masked up and sitting at the other end of the room and chatting and whatever. And we don't have lunch together, we don't drink together. It's masks all the way. And we don't plan on doing this very often. It was a bit of an unusual event, so. Still trying to be really careful about this stuff. But it felt really quite strange. I haven't been near that many people all at once for like half a year and more. Now, some things what I'm going to do here, some things might look a bit strange. These black lines, the vein lines on these leaves, are not going to appear on this key block. We've put them on the same tracing, so that I'll use the same tracing again carving later. But I'm going to carve through this right now, and don't panic because it's not making a mistake. These veins are going to come off this block. So I can do this here. That's not a mistake. Okay. How does the moisture content of the air affect the blocks? Well, yeah, it affects them a lot. I know on any given day, whether today's rainy and tomorrow is dry, does it affect my carving? No, there's almost no influence at that level. But as we don't wrap our blocks up. The blocks stay open to the atmosphere. And over the course of a year, as the season change, the moisture in the block will change as well. Even the old blocks, the ones I carved, 30x years ago, they're on shelves in Ome. And they're wrapped up carefully in newspaper, but they're not sealed. So I guess they must be breathing and bringing in moisture and letting it out over the course of a year. I think there's no way you can seal them up so that they will never change. Just the best thing to do is just treat them naturally, and they take care of themselves. And then, of course, once we start using a block, we're slathering it with water, and it dramatically changes at that moment. So. They do harden up as time goes by, though, of course, as they get older and older and older, and all the residual moisture disappears. They do get hard. When you get blocks in the Meiji era stuff, they're very hard, but they're also very brittle now. So printing on the old blocks is kind of neat. They're hard, but you have to really be careful because they're very brittle. Could I dip the discontinued ones you want to exhibit in rosin to preserve them? I guess we could, but we don't have any such objects here. On all of our wood blocks that we've carved, they're in service still. We're nowhere near wearing out any of the blocks we've carved here. Even our bestseller prints, we've never been over 2,000 with any of our prints. I think the rickshaw cart is approaching that. The Great Wave is approaching that. But these blocks have not been retired. We're using them. I think there's a friend of mine, Maria. She lives in Nevada somewhere, Las Vegas somewhere. She's a modern woodblock printmaker. She makes prints, modern prints. And because she's a modern artist type, she does limited editions. So she does her carving, does her edition, and then because it's limited, she feels that she needs to destroy the blocks. But she uses the blocks to sell. She takes the blocks and does something like what you're describing there. She pours some kind of rosin or fiberglass or something, I don't know what it is, into the wood itself so that you can see the carving, but it can't be printed from. And then she sells them as decorations, the wood carving as an object by itself. But for us, they stay usable. The one I'm carving right now, how many copies eventually will be made from it? I hope many, many, many hundreds. Don't know. It'll hopefully, well, almost certainly this will be being used long after I'm gone. Chop a bit, read a bit, chop a bit, read a bit. I'm not sure the question. How do you take care of your articulations? I ask because I worry about mine. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Articulations. Speaking. I'm sorry to be dense. I don't understand what you mean. How do I take care of my articulations? What does it mean? Is somebody explaining? You're talking about, I don't know, you mean joints and stuff like this? How do I take care? I don't actually do anything. I know. Whatever, let me do some work here. And if that's what you mean, muscles and joints and stuff, I don't do anything. The only key to this is, don't overdo any specific single kind of work. I do a good variety of work. I won't be doing this for 24 hours today. I'll be doing this just for a couple of hours, and that's okay. There's no stress on your body in that sense. But back when I was a full-time carver / full-time printer, you take breaks, absolutely. I had an exercise bar? I don't know what to say. Exercise bar above my workstation where my printing bench and carving bench were hanging from the wall, and I would stretch up on it. No magic formula there, just keep changing up articulations. And someone else asked me about the fingernails. I don't know, whatever. That's just carelessness really on my part. We need one here because I'm supporting the knife here, stopping it from going. Although it doesn't really so much depend on the nail. So this one is sort of part of the job. The rest I'm just careless. The hair grows too much, the fingernails grow too much. I chop them back and they go again. I chop them back. Part of it was, when I was just out of high school, I was messing around with classical guitar a lot, and that was part of it. You needed your fingernails for doing that properly. But I sure don't spend much time on the guitar now. Like 35 years since I've touched it, so. We're doing a relief cut here first, right? We've cut the inside of these lines. Now before I cut the outside, I'm making a relief cut here, out in the open area. And that's so that when I start cutting the back side of this line, the wood is able to move here. If that wasn't a relief cut, then as I cut here, it stresses both sides of the line. And this is weak because it's got no back to it. It could have been closer too. It's funny, you mentioning fingernails, chewing and stuff. This is ages, this is a million years ago, but I remember that being in high school, it would have been grade 9, grade 10, somewhere around there. So it must be 15 years old or 16 years old or something. I was chewing them. I don't remember why or what was going on, or I don't remember any specific stress. I don't know, nothing about that, but I do remember that I chewed them. I don't know what went on, and at some point one day or something, one of the girls in the class or something must have said something. I don't remember really clearly the details. Somebody must have said something, that's disgusting, or that looks awful, or whatever. I don't remember what happened, but then it was enough of a trigger, enough of a switch for me to not do that anymore. And I remember that the change happened like just overnight. One day Dave was a fingernail chewer, and the next day he didn't. And of course, you know what happens, they grow too long, so whatever. So I do remember chewing them, I don't know for how long or how many years or how, why or whatever, but I do remember that I did that. I also remember that I stopped. And we're talking about 55 years ago, so I don't know. My mother might remember that better than I do. I don't know. Love these curves. Clean, wavy, nice curves. Beautiful. Good fun. Are you asking my mother about this? I don't know. What have we started here? I don't think he knew any girls. She's right. She's right. She's right. I was the shyest freaking kid in that high school, you know. The shyest, whatever. Just girl shy. Absolutely girl shy. There was guys, you know, like the sports heroes and stuff. They went out with girls and they had cars and all that kind of stuff. And Dave wouldn't have. I know. Whatever. If there happens to be a time when there's a girl next to you in the class or something, Dave is just like sweating and. Well, this is the thing, though. So as I said, I don't really remember. Maybe one of the girls or somebody said something that's disgusting, whatever, and I wasn't able to talk to her and say whatever. So. Dave wasn't a pickup artist. You gotta be kidding. I was terrified of girls. Just, there's no other way to say it. Just terrified. Part of self-confidence. Maybe at that time, 15 years old, 16 years old, 18, whatever. I had no self-confidence at all. Zero. I thought my nose was too big, my ears were too big, my hair was too short, whatever, all this stuff, you know, teenage type stuff. You know? Funny. But I can't say how you're saying high school was tough on us, whatever, you know. Man, oh man. I can't imagine if I ever met some of those people now, you know. I didn't ever do the high school reunion thing, partly because whatever life went on, moved away. I've never lived back in the same area, but I've never been to like a high school reunion. And I imagine if there was one now, like when was graduation? I was grad 69. So grad 69, 79, 89, 99, 09. Yeah, so last year would have been 50 years. Maybe they had a reunion, 50-year reunion for the grad class. This would have been last year. But even if I had known about this, and even if I had gone, I could guarantee you absolutely there'd be all these 500 people here, and nobody would know me. Absolutely nobody would know me. Oh, there's Dave. He's the flute player guy. Nobody would know me. A few people would. The people who had been in the school band or something, they'd know who I was. But anybody outside of that little tiny milieu. I wonder if they had a reunion. Delta High School, grad 69. Looking good. Delta High School, it was not in Vancouver City. It was in a place called Delta. Delta was the town. Ladner. It's south of Vancouver, BC. Delta High School. In Ladner, BC. Not part of Vancouver, but near Vancouver. Yeah, Delta Secondary. So, Delta Secondary in Ladner, that's where it was. And actually at the time, just after, I guess the year after I left, when my brother was still there was an arson thing, and it burned down. And they started combining the schools, so Delta something became Delta Secondary. So they all changed just after I left school. Oh, you're already in, okay. Hi. Paper is out, yes, paper is out. So. On our school, I know the thing I remember most about that and about the high school, because I just started flute playing there. I started the flute when I was in grade 10 there, so that was the beginning of the music thing for me. And it was a plus minus about our music teacher. He was not actually the world's greatest music teacher. He was very, very, very old-fashioned. I know his idea was like 1890s brass band music or military band music was the stuff to teach with. So he was really old-fashioned, nice guy, but hopelessly behind the times. But in one thing that he did, he had a thing about really was dramatic. He had the idea that the high school, the band program should work together with the drama program, should work together with the wood shop, together with electronics and stuff. And they did a Broadway show. So that school, and it had been going on before I arrived there, and it kept going after I left. They did a Broadway show each year, and I mean, as in a real Broadway show. The guy wrote to the licensing agency in New York, a place called Tams Whitmark, and he rented the full sets of sheet music for a theater orchestra. And these are the real scores for real musicians. They come in big, black, thick binders, and there's rules about only use soft pencil to make your changes, erase them all before you send it back. And it was like a big caseload of all these scores. And so for the whole year, starting in September, each of these departments, the music department, the drama department, the woodwork guys, did what they needed to do to prepare for this musical, which we put on every spring. And these were real Broadway shows. The years I was there, we did Bye Bye Birdie one year, and we did Finnegan's Rainbow the next year. This was hot stuff back in the 1960s. And it was insane, absolutely insane. He got his pencil out and chopped and cut these scores to make it, parts of it were too long, parts of it, the violin parts were too difficult, stuff like this. And we hacked it all up. It must have been god-awful. But my God, we had fun. We had absolute fun. And we're in the pit. We built a quote pit unquote in front of the stage in the school auditorium. There was no real pit there, but we barricaded it off and sat there. And man, we had a ton of fun. It must have sounded grotesque, but he hired a rehearsal pianist for the vocalists, and this is before the days of personal video cameras and YouTube, so luckily it's all it's lost to history. But the year after I left, I think just before the fire, I guess, my brother was still there, they did Sweet Charity. Interesting for high school kids to do, whatever. And we had no orchestra in our school. It was just band, school band. And these, of course, these are orchestrations, like violins, violas, the whole actual real orchestrations. So we had to hack them up. So I spent half of each show with the flute book on my desk. I had 2 desks there, the flute book and the violin book, trying to pick and choose and play back and forth between the two. It was a ton of fun. He's gone now, but he was really a mix. Interesting guy, really, really nice guy, but my God. He'd get these old band orchestrations, like the Light Cavalry Overture or something, from a 1985 Chappell's Band Edition or something. And it was written for a British military band. And in the era before my era, they weren't using C flutes. They were using what were called D-flat flutes or E-flat flutes. I forget the name of them, D-flat flutes. So the flute parts weren't written in concert pitch. The flute parts were a semitone different. So he puts this thing on the desk, it's E-flat flute, it says, and I'm like, he says, just whatever, fly with it, because we were just reading this and putting it away. It wasn't, going to be written up. So the rest of the flute players just, whatever, they just sat there, and Dave struggles through this thing to try and transpose this thing as we're playing. And of course, in the beginning, hopeless, but bit by bit, you get used to this. So it was really helpful. I learned how to, transpose on the fly while playing, and you're transposing this thing from a different key, and he's just looking over and grinning, So it was great fun, hauntingly great fun. I should, get to work here, whatever. Speaking of Japanese woodblock printmaking, how are we going to attack this? We're early in the print like this. There's leaves. Looks like peonies. There's flowers. Another leaf. I'm going to leave the dog alone for a while. I'm a bit rusty here after not carving for a while. So I think we'll just do this bit by bit by bit. This is a very full image. It's much fuller than the one we just finished. So this is going to take a while here. This is going to take a while. It's okay. Peaceful work, a few weeks. I come for the printmaking. There's Wacom tablets. is something interesting. Is the last few days here, you can hear some of the banging and noises you can hear now are starting to come from next door. And the building next door is physically attached to ours. Both of these buildings were built in the years before the modern zoning. So you built right to your property line. This building came first. This building was here before the one that was next door was here. They may have been first, second, third, I don't know, but ours came before theirs. And when this building was built, it seems that was only a one-story building. So our building on the second floor and third floor had windows on that side. There's a couple of windows all the way down on the second floor, and the same thing up on the third floor. And then when the building went up next door, they built right to their property line, and at one point the guys are laying bricks and must just have said, so long, close your window, because it's game over for you. So we have these windows. There's no glass in them anymore. The glass has been taken out, but it's a hole in the wall, and what we are seeing out the window is the concrete blocks of the next door's building. Because that's the background of the physical situation. But what we've been finding now, and this was last night and this morning, the rats here are going nuts. So something's happening next door, and it could be that there's gaps between these things, and that the rats which have been living here, this may be what they've been doing. They've maybe been coming actually from next door, through the wall, through some of these gaps. And when I came down here this morning to get this thing going, put the lights on, there's no rats running around the room. They're all in their own space, but they're up above the ceiling here, above me. Jungle drums. It's prisoners talking to each other through the pipes, right? I think we need a bit of a sharpen here. Time for a touch-up here. We don't need the strong stone here. This thing is not broken, it's just simply a tiny bit dull. We need to touch up. So, just a few minutes here. You notice recently I've been a good boy, right? Going back to my normal stone instead of using the little toy stone. Been a good boy here. Trying to preserve my ability to do this. We really, really don't need much here. Really don't need much. The knife is in very nice condition. We just need a touch-up. Oh, nanda, nanda. Oh, sneeze. I'm allergic to sharpening, huh? Excuse me, sorry. Blows his nose right on the microphone. Sorry about that. So something, maybe, I don't know. I'm a sun sneezer, on a sunny day. When you go outside and the sun's up there and your eyes squint, that's it for me. Bang, bang, bang. 3 or 4 sneezes. Oops, too far, sorry. Something, dust or whatever, maybe. The dust from the stone, maybe? Who knows? No idea. Sorry about this, excuse me. Okay, back to work. Dust from next door, who knows? So, I don't think it's corona. I think we're allowed to sneeze. Wicked, wicked, wicked. Wicked, wicked sharp. Oh, I know what I meant to do. Before I forget, we're halfway through the stream here. There will be a show and tell at the end. There will be a show and tell at the end. Before we get there, let me drop a couple of links in. So those of you who are interested can look at these links before we get to the... I'll drop this in here. And then one more. These are links that are going to be relevant to what we talk about when we get to Chantal. And maybe some of you who were here yesterday already know what's going on, so you've already got this figured out. But who's talking about subscription software? Are you Adobe and stuff like that? Anybody know what kind of microphone he's using? It's just a nothing. It's a cheap, it's a normal little Sony lavalier. It's like a $10 Sony microphone. No idea. Nothing special at all. The mic today is plugged into the audio of the Handycam, from which point it runs through into the system. The outside audio is coming from the outside Handycam. あ、ありがとうございます。どうも。That's the post office with an interesting package. I didn't think it was going to be coming today. We'll save it. I'm not set up for it. It is a big thing, which is going to be a ton of fun to look at, but I'm not set up for it today. It's going to require a special setup to be able to see it. So let's hold off on that one. Today's Saturday. We'll take a look at that package on Monday, if it is what I think it is. I've missed 99% of this stream here today, whatever. So, no, I'm not teasing. I'm not teasing you. I didn't plan this. I'm not teasing you. There is something we picked up on a bunch of auctions last week that was a very special, interesting item, but it is physically quite large. It's not something dramatic, but it's physically quite large, and it looks like that's what it's being delivered here today. I thought it was going to be coming on Sunday or Monday, but it looks like it's arrived today. So we're not ready for it, but we will, for the show and tell then, to show that one, I will need to set up a special stand because I cannot show you on my desk here. So we'll just save it. We'll save it. Cherry Blossom's not involved. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. the other day, we were talking about something here, right? And it was just maybe we were talking about the little prints or something I was showing, and somebody made a comment that how can this guy still be so enthusiastic about blah 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 blah, and I was trying to answer how can I still be enthusiastic blah 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 blah. And this one today, this one thing, when I saw this last week, and I thought, oh my God. I had heard of this. I knew it existed, but I've never seen one before. And now we've got it here. So it's easy to be interested. It's easy to be excited about stuff. You know, it's like, it's not Christmas. It's not a question of accumulating and getting stuff. It's a question of being able to look at beautiful things and neat things and accomplishments and seeing the accomplishment of the old carver, and it flows down to my fingers to try and make me do the same thing that 100 years from now someone's going to say, I got one of those prints, you know, that guy, that dude 100 years ago. It's just too much fun. It's just too much fun. There's the other thing about surprises and secrets and not being told and stuff like this, you know. Think about the magic tricks. I was a daddy. I'm still a daddy, but I mean, I was an active daddy. There was 2 girls in the house, 2 little kids, and their friends were there. They were friends all over the place. And there was a point when we first came to Japan, we had no money, we had nothing. We had just immigrated with a little bag in our backpack in our bag, and we had nothing. So I made some toys and did this and that. And as part of keeping my kids and their friends interested, Daddy here did really poor magic. I'm never, you know, I'm not magician type magic, but the kind of magic that fools 6-year-old kids magic. The stuff that any daddy did. And one of the things that I had was a sort of a thing. You do something with your hands, and your hands are empty, and a minute later, and you pull out the little cloth, and you put it back in your hands, and you open your hands, and there's nothing there. Those of you who know what this is, you know about it. But the deal is, the kids were staggered by this. A 6-year-old kid was stunned by this. An adult would maybe catch it right away, but a 6-year-old kid is stunned by this. And how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And I didn't show them. And a year later, hey, do that trick again. I'd do the trick again. Show us, show us, show us. And I didn't show them. And we sort of, part of the interest and part of the excitement about it is the secret of the thing and not knowing too much about it. When you know everything about it, it becomes normal and not exciting and not interesting. But when there's so much that you don't know yet, so the 6-year-old kid with Daddy's magic trick, the excitement for her was the not knowing. And even though she's saying, tell me, tell me, tell me, inside, psychologically, she's like, she doesn't want to know. And if you told them, if I had told my kids the secret of that trick, it would have destroyed everything and it would have just been nothing anymore. So it's a bit of a funny, I'm stretching an analogy here too much, but this print we're going to look at on Monday or whenever we're going to look at it, how did they do that? And that's part of the thing that keeps you at this. You know, if I knew it all and could do it all and it was all routine, then it wouldn't be fun anymore. But the fact that it's still, what's going on here? There's a coded, I've told this story before. I remember, my brain is beeping, beep, Dave, old man, don't tell the same story too many times. I've told this before. We've talked about this magic trick, and my daughter, Humi, was visiting me in Ome after she moved to Canada and grew up and went to high school and stuff. She's visiting me. She would have been about 25 or something, I don't know, whatever. She's visiting, and we're doing something, and she's helping me do some sending letters. Dad, where's the stapler? I say, it's over in the drawer there. And she goes into the drawer, where's the stapler? And she's looking for the stapler. And in the drawer, she finds that same little red cloth that I used to use the magic tricks. And she looks at this, and she looks at this, and she sees the trick, because it's a physical thing. She sees the trick. She's 25 or something. And she has now discovered the secret of that magic trick. She starts crying. She comes over to me holding this thing. And I start crying. The memories of what we were doing. She says, I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. So even at 25 years old, she's still, you know, the secret and the pleasure and the excitement was more fun than knowing. And sort of, I'm exaggerating, that's sort of the secret of my life and why this enthusiasm is still here. That's part of it, I guess. Maybe I'm stretching it a little bit. I don't know. You still love it because you're lucky, that's all. That's a debatable point, actually, you know. Excuse me. That's debatable. I was talking about Penn and Teller where they showed tricks. It's enjoyable. It's another approach to it. There's an intellectual, rational approach to understanding things. We all like learning things and understanding things. That's, of course, a thing. Of course, we need that for life. So I'm not suggesting that we should never know anything. Everything remains a secret. There's a time and a place for each one of these things. So the rational mind wants to understand and know these things. The more mysterious mind wants to still be fooled and be challenged, you know. So. You had a Patreon print yesterday. There's some of them are so late, they're going out. I've got some Patreon prints again the other day. Another batch got returned in the post office. There's people still waiting for Patreon prints. Returned to sender, no such address. No such address. It's not that no longer here, so I don't know. What's this one? Not deliverable as addressed. Undeliverable as addressed. We get these bounce backs. So there's 3 more Patreon chibis waiting on my desk. Luckily, people are pretty good with this, you know. How's our time? We're okay? This has really been back and forth today. Sorry about this. 9:06. Okay, let me try and finish this bulb. Good morning, hello. Here she is. She said coming around 9. Her paper has been out for hours. It's all nicely defrosted. She's going to spend the rest of the day working on the first subscription print for next year. We're kind of late. We shouldn't be printing these in early December. These should have been printed in November. But it's taken a while to get this thing all up and running. So if any of you are going to be part of that series next year, upstairs today, she is already, she's rubbing pigment to paper on next year's prints. From Asakusa, they'll be traveling all over the world, who knows where. You talk about subscriptions, it's funny, you're talking about Adobe subscription software and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we too, I am, of course, I'm a subscriber to Adobe. There's no way around it. I used to buy the package and then use it for 5 years, 6 years until the OS died or, it wouldn't run anymore. And me too, I first grumbled when I've got to pay Adobe this. We've got to pay this, whatever it is, $800 a year for all this stuff. And then one day I got Dave, but how can you complain about Adobe? You're also doing subscriptions, same thing. And I'm like, what? What do you mean same thing? When people subscribe to us, they pay every month, and they get a brand new freaking product every month. A whole new, brand new product. We don't just say, oh, it's okay, you can look at last month's print again. So. Well, talking about the scope, an 8 by eyepiece. I don't know if it's an 8 by eyepiece. The one I'm using right now is an EMZ. It's an EMZ 5, Series 5. EMZ Series 5 with a reducer. There's a reducer on the bottom, which gives me a wider field of view. The things are not so large, not so small. So the scope magnification is really not much. In fact, as I sit here now, when I look at the screen, I've got a MacBook and blah blah blah. It's bigger than what I see on the screen here, but not a whole lot bigger than what I'm seeing on my screen here. I was going to get this thing finished. Dave. Now, personally, I would have preferred the old model. Just buy it outright every 4 or 5 years. Use it till it won't work anymore, and then upgrade. I understand that old software can't work forever and ever and ever. I get that. I'm in the same position with my own software now. Our own software that we use to run our subscription system here is legacy, and it's overdue and it's for a change, and it's just not working properly, so it needs to be rewritten. So I get it. I can understand why old software does, die, of course. But I still would have liked the option to buy the thing outright, use it for X years, and then buy it again, in a newer, updated version. So it stings a bit for me still to have to do this subscription deal for software. But I get it. And also, if that's the only practical way that such a company can survive and keep the product in the market, then so be it. I don't know. It's very complicated. But I also understand why they want to do that, Microsoft and Adobe, why they want to have subscriptions, because it's so much more stabilizing for your business. So much more stabilizing. We have different things that we do here. One of the things we do is subscriptions. Another part of our business is single prints. Another part was the shop. And it really, really, really helped us when the shop fell apart last year, when the shop disappeared last year. It was a wonderful help to our business that we had that subscription model in the background. I can't say we would have gone bankrupt without it or something like that, but it dramatically helped us. I think the accountants call it recurring revenue, I guess is the technical term for it. But to have that as part of our business model is really, really helpful. This video coming, I know I've started just to prepare the stuff for it, the year-end update video, the video where we announce next year's series. It'll also be an update on our financial situation and stuff like that. And I'm putting it together now. I haven't started filming yet, but I'm putting together the things to say. So a target date for setting it out is December 10th. So for the announcement for next year's series, hopefully December 10th is the target announcement date. I have in hand the sample prints, and Ishikawa-san and Dei-chan have turned me in the final approved samples of the first and second print from next year's series. So I'll be showing those in the video, explaining what the series is about, trying to explain the bloody new postage system. Don't want to talk about that. So that's coming to a screen near you December 10th. Okay, let's do a bit of a catch-up show and tell. Okay. We have a bit of new show and tell today, but before we do that, we're going to recap a couple of things. As you know, I keep telling you, I read the chats and stuff here. I read the chats, usually when I'm having lunch. And I can see sometimes it's a bit frustrating. I read things that people have tried to get in touch with me and I didn't see their comment. There's too much chat, I didn't see it. By the time I've read it when I'm having my lunch, it's too late to talk to you. And a couple of things come up. In the one I showed you, this was what, this last show and tell, and the previous show and tell, I explained, quotation marks, I explained something. Things are what they are. Things are what they are. When does the 2020 Patreon Winter be sent out? They're being sent out now, as we speak. The 2020 Patreon Winter Chibis started going out in November. They're also going out now. They're going out in batches, bit by bit by bit by bit from Ome. So if you're on the list for 2020 Patreon, you're going to get it soon, if it's post office, whatever. Okay, John Becker's got this. They are sleeves. Let's look at this one. I gotta laugh at it, can't do anything else. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole story again. I'm going to assume that I'm going to tell this story for the people that were here the other day. If you weren't here the other day and you don't know what's going on, I'm sorry. This is the story here now for the people who watched this the other day. They've opened up some of these things, and they are, this tiny recap is, they are small gifts that were given to people who had purchased a special order kimono. And they're imitations. This is a kimono wrapping, if you imagine this being real size, these are imitations of the package of what a kimono would be wrapped in when you give it to when you send it to the customer. They are little presents, and they're envelopes. This thing, actually, I didn't really show this carefully. This is an envelope in which you can put money or something for giving to somebody when you needed to pay them for something. And they seem to be made of offcuts of old woodblock prints, or they were specially carved, we don't know. Anyway, I was showing them the other day, and I showed that when you got one of these things, you got a set of 3. There was a main envelope and 2 smaller square envelopes. And I passed on to the next one, on to the next one. And people in the chat were starting to say, no, these things actually line up. And at one point, we did go back, and we found out that this one, the pattern actually did line up there, and the pattern actually did line up here. And you can see the actual leaf goes through. And Dave said, well, the reason they line up is just because they were made from the same old chopped up woodblock print. It's no big deal. And other people disagreed what they thought they were. And their idea was that these are supposed to represent a kimono with hanging sleeves. And Dave, because the pattern here didn't line up, thinks maybe, but I think you're stretching this a point, whatever. It's pretty clear. I mean, the link I put in this chat a few minutes ago, somebody really frustrated somebody, sent some emails about this. Polite language, well, he's going to be reading this, whatever. The point being that I didn't get it. Okay, no problem. I guess I didn't get it. Fully agreed. There is one of these, when you look at it this way, beyond any doubt now, beyond any doubt. The very first one I opened up the other day, there is the center of the kimono. And if that doesn't put an end to this. So there we are. They are indeed sleeves, which everybody out there knew, which I didn't, didn't catch on. So there you go. But still, whether these were specially carved and printed for this, or whether they are made from torn up pages of kimono catalogs, I don't know. So anyway, so you got it. I'm not going to, remember, I ate crow on one of those YouTube videos. I'm not going to sit here eating crow, but yes, clearly you guys were right, and I was just tossing it off casually. So, so it's okay. Okay, moving right along. Who used to say that, moving right along? I can't remember that. Something on TV when I was a kid. Moving right along. After he'd been embarrassed or something like this. I don't even remember who said that. Moving right along. We get to episode 2 of this Dave Eats More Crow. No, the white borders, no. The white borders are because it's pasted on. The woodblock print part you're seeing is pasted on. So the prints themselves don't have white borders. We looked at this the other day. What you're seeing here, I don't want to cut one of these up, but the white border here is separate paper. The purple part, I can go underneath here. The purple part is a woodblock print stuck on this. So yes, if they were white borders, then they're not going to be cut up prints. They would have to be specially made for this, but they don't have white borders. The prints themselves could be pieces cut from a larger woodblock print. Is that why the crows are missing? Because I ate them all? Davey's crow. So someone's asking about chocolate eggs, whatever. What can I say? Just everybody gets a basket of eggs. Okay, now the other one. Dave Eats Crow Part 2. Dave Eats Crow Part 2. We were looking through a bunch of these other ones. This is the same story. These are pochibukuro, little envelopes. And we go through what's the theme of this one, what's the theme of this one. Most of these are just traditional patterns, chopped and cut up and just used. There's no deep meaning to many of these. We're going along through them, and one of them, and Dave comes to this one. And I'm like, okay, what's this all about? And my first instant theory, which is completely, totally wrong, was that it's a Senshafta type calligraphy, where there's a black calligraphy with a white border on the outside. And if you take the black away, it doesn't look like anything. It doesn't mean anything. Wrong. When I read the chat at lunchtime, somebody said, I forget the names, I don't know who gets the eggs here, but somebody said, they're faces, they're silhouettes. And I didn't see this. If I'd have seen it, silhouettes. So I read my lunch, silhouettes. I went back and got it and looked at it, and it's not just silhouettes, it's two very specific people. And I am an idiot, and you can quote me, I'm an idiot for not catching this. Do you see who these are? It's Ebisu and Daikoku. Absolutely, it's the standard shape. The two guys with the big ears, there's 7 lucky gods. This is 2 of the lucky gods. The guy with the big fat bag with the fan and the magic hammer to get money is Daikoku, and he always wears this flat, floppy hat, and there's his hat, and there's his big ear. And Ebisu, the guy with the fishing rod to pull in the sea bream, there's his big ear, and there's his pointed hat, which flops over. They are Ebisu and Daikoku. I posted a link the other day. I don't have the exact shape, but if you just Google Ebisu, E-B-I-S-U, and Daikoku, D-A-I-K-O-K-U, you'll find these guys, and they always have these big, huge, fleshy ears. Ebisu has the peaked hat, Daikoku with his ear. So any normal educated Japanese person would see this and instantly understand what it is. I say normal educated Japanese person of a certain era. I said I'm an idiot for not getting it because I should get it, but I'll defend myself by saying one thing. If I took this outside of the street now and stopped 10 random Japanese people and said, what is this? Maybe one of them, maybe, might get it. So I'll say that in my defense. It's not just me, whatever. Anyway, there it is. Clearly, Ebisu Daikoku. I missed it. Somebody in the chat mentioned that they are faces, silhouettes, and that was enough of a hint. That's 2 crows. So, cut me a little bit of slack, but I should have known that. Honestly speaking, I should have known that. Okay. All right, today's show and tell, in the last 5 minutes, we are staying with the same theme. It's clearly the person who collected these is the same person. I must have got these in the same batch of prints. I don't remember. These came back from years and years and years and years and years ago. So somebody in their own collection, they've done the same thing. It's even got the same, well, it's not the same color, but it's the same paper inside. And what we have here is another little tiny gem of the same genre. We're not going to stay with Pochibukuro forever and ever and ever, but today we will see this. And it says 11, Juichi Mai. Mai is the counter for like sheets of paper or flat things. And the fact that that's there really confuses me. I thought these boxes were something that was made by the consumer. The person who got these things, and she probably made up a little box to keep them in. But the fact that this is printed, this is not just somebody drawing it with a pencil. This is printed on here. Makes me think that this would have been actually then a commercial product that was sold. It's not gold leaf. It's just gold-colored paper. It's gold foil. There's no gold involved here. This is just gold foil. But I'm now confused because this now looks like a commercial product. It's cardboard. It's cardboard, just a little tiny cardboard paper box with foil and paper glued into it. It's a deal in Japan. This is the Chiogami paper we showed you before. It was designed to be cut up and pasted on little boxes and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get to the inside. But as I said, this is now starting to look like a commercial product rather than just a little bit of a collection. Okay, and what we have here, let me take the other parts away. These are the same thing. These are small little envelopes. Now the thing about these is, these are not money size. The last ones we looked at that had that rectangular shape, you'd roll up a 1 yen note or a 10 yen note or a 100 yen note or whatever, and it rolls up and goes inside there. These are square. So I am thinking here that this is not so much utilitarian for people to put money inside. These are now sold as actual products, woodblock prints. And they are woodblock prints. And we don't actually have a theme that I can see that ties them all together. And this is, somebody's saying, it's John saying here, this is not glued on. These are printed. It's a larger sheet of paper that is printed in the middle and then folded to make the envelope. Maybe. Let me get my microscope out here. Hang on a second. Before I make another fool of myself, let me look at this under the scope. It's glued on. Ha ha ha, it is glued on. It's different paper. The paper texture here is different. These two are also glued in place. Look at that, they are. Yes, I can peel it up a little bit. Yes, I don't want to destroy this, but I can go underneath here. So for these two, it's a two-part process. They have made woodblock prints, cut them, and pasted them onto envelopes. What about, they're beautifully done. They're so nice. Look at the scale and the size. And the theme, whatever, this is kyogen dance, the kind of dance that appears in the interval of a no theater play. as Kyogen dance. There's a signature, somebody who designed these. I have no idea. I cannot read it. So these are a known thing. This is a known thing. No date. Nay. Let's have a peek through. This is an old Japanese toy. It's a toy. There would be maybe a clockwork mechanism inside it, or maybe a spring, or maybe a handle. And the woman turns this thing, and it moves the boy back and forth, back and forth. And this is an old grindstone for grinding flour or tea, things like this. This is an old-fashioned toy, Edo-era toy. This is another toy. We're developing a theme here, but I don't know. Very minimalist, very, very minimalist thing. And under the side light here, they are just so nice and soft and tasty. Dengaku, cha meshi dengaku. Cha, tea, food, meshi food, dengaku would perhaps be the specific kind of food this lady is making. It's the kind of woman who would have a little stall at a shrine festival, I guess. You know, literally, cha is tea, cha meshi. Whether cha meshi is an expression by itself, I don't know. Meshi is food. Meshi, you can have something to eat. This one's nice and tasty. Look at this. Like a watercolor painting. It's woodblock prints. Everything you see is done on a different woodblock. At least two woodblocks, one for the sky, one for the tree. The tree one is done with a gradation. There's another faint tree block in the background here. So there's two tree blocks, a strong one and a weak one. There's a woodblock back here, you can see it. Then another one block for the houses here, another block on top for the houses here. Atenashi bokashi, someone threw a gradation into the middle. All done with woodblock. And a separate, look at this, you know, a separate woodblock for the pink and for the blue. There's an actual woodblock carved for the pink there. Now, it can't be on the same woodblock as the yellow, but it could, for example, that pink could be on the same woodblock as maybe this batch of trees, because it's separated by enough space to do that. Or it could be the same woodblock as the woodblock for the vermilion seal. But somebody has actually carved a piece of wood. Are there two shades of pink? I don't see another one. Oh, is it done with a gradation, you mean? I don't think so, I don't think so, I don't think so. Back to the scope here, just a minute. I am going to refrain from comment on that. I'm not sure. There is a bit of irregularity in the pink, but I don't think it's two blocks. I think it's a bit of tamari. It's not a smooth, beautiful, clean pink. It's a bit rough, and it makes it look sort of like there's actually pink and a pink pattern on top. But I don't think so. Looking under the scope. Only way to find out is if I had a second copy of this, and we could see if that irregularity is identical in the two prints. Then yes, it's a carved irregularity. This one's a bit funny. It's a guy working at a tile kiln. I think this is representing the kiln in the background, smoke coming out. And look at the overlaps. This block overlaps that block, which overlaps that block. Can't even figure this out. There's this block for the smoke, and then the blocks making up the kiln. Patch on his knee. Who were the consumers for these? Who bought them? I don't know. The ones we showed you, the little money envelopes, they were an article of daily use. Men and women would both use them whenever money had to be paid. It's women mostly, but they were an article of daily use. Something like this now, I'm really not sure. There is a functional aspect to it, but there's also very much clearly a collectible aspect to this as well. What are we seeing here? It looks like another tea house, is it? I'm not sure. This looks like a heater, a stove in the background. Hats for the walkers, people who are walking by, you tell me. This is a raincoat, a straw raincoat and a rain hat. That would imply then that maybe if this was part of, I'm just guessing here, don't make me eat any more crow, I'm just guessing. If this were part of an inn or something where people had been staying, then when they want to go out for a stroll on a rainy day, there could be hats and stuff like now. In the lobby of a hotel, there's umbrellas prepared. But on the other hand, it looks like this business is aimed at people who are walking by. But they would have their own stuff. I don't know. And then the last one here, this is kind of cute. It's kids with a little street side, I can't say Jesus statue, a little tiny statue of some kind. And maybe, and again you tell me, the kids have made their own little shrine here, or this is a neighborhood shrine that the kids are praying for. I don't know. No idea. What's the date on these? It's the same era that many of these things. This is pre-war. This is, latest would be 1930s, 1920s. It wouldn't be much earlier than that. So this is Taisho era or early Showa. Pretty much 100 years ago. We're now in 2020. So this could be 1920, 1930, somewhere around there. Nice gradations on these boys. What are these for? What's the purpose of all this stuff? Why am I interested in them? Beautiful objects, just to see normal people using their skills to make objects that go into society that maybe even could be just thrown away. But you just make them as beautifully as you can, with as nice sensibility as you can. This suits my character, so this is why I like these things, you know. The prints that we are now making, the print I'm carving, the one that Ichikawa-san's working upstairs. Why are we doing it? Have fun. To have fun. To have fun. Okay. We've come to the end of our allotted time. My job today, actually, I'll probably be carving, actually. I'm going to continue carving on this. What else have I got to do today? Oh yeah, it's part of that video preparation for the next video coming up. I've got my checklist. Oh, and New Year's addresses. I've got to get the addresses ready for people getting New Year's cards. Did people in Japan ever write checks? There's no personal checking in Japan. There's never been personal checking. There are such things as checks, which means pieces of paper that go from bank to authorized transfer of money. There were checks at the level of B2B, business to business. There's no checking at the consumer level. Never has been. It was 100% cash. Then when I first came here, it was X% cash, X% bank transfer. You get their bank number, thank you very much, we'll go home. And you go to your bank, you fill out the form, give it to the lady, wait 5 minutes, come back, and the money is then transferred. That still exists. That's how we pay our staff, although we're doing it through a keyboard instead of going to the bank. And the rest of it now, it's cards, touch cards, Suica cards, all kinds of things, phone to phone. Personal checks have never been a thing. Over the years, I've been paid. Some overseas customers have insisted. We've said, no. They've insisted. I can't take it. It's a junk piece of paper. I take it to the bank and they say, what's this? Anyway, getting sidetracked. I'm out of here. I got lots of work to do. Thanks for watching. It's been a really bit of a strange dream for me today. I'm going to go back and read the chat at lunchtime. See you on Monday morning with, I think, the opposite to this. Instead of a tiny little, delicate little thing, we're going to see some big stuff on the next stream, I think, if that's what it is. Thanks for watching. See you then. Bye for now.